Hey everyone, it's 10 types, and also I'm gonna I just look at the screen. It also says hey everyone on the screen. By 10 types. So yes, today I'm gonna talk about your Pokemon TCG hot takes, which I was looking through, and a lot of them weren't that hot, but I've not looked at all of them yet either. Also, like this isn't like not my 10 types channel. It's kind of weird, but don't worry about it. So yeah, these are stuff about cards, and if you want me to do this as a series, leave comments down below on your hot takes and like the ones that you think are that you agree with or want me to talk about as well, like the ones you don't agree with. Don't dislike them. I mean, you can. It doesn't do anything. You can't. You literally can't see dislikes on. I'm just gonna like dislike this. Like you can't see. You can see the like, but you can't see the dislike. I'll like it. So anyways, yeah, I'm just gonna go through these. Here we got from Shifu. Yeah, like Urshifu 880. Thornton is the most underrated and fun card in the format and should be in almost every deck. This is interesting. That certainly is a hot take. It's not in every deck if you don't know it. So what Thornton does is it lets you. It's kind of complicated, but it lets you switch a basic Pokemon from your discard with a basic Pokemon you have in play, and then you like keep all the stuff on it, include all the cards on it and the effects on it, which includes like turns in play and also I don't know, like special conditions, damage. I feel like a lot of people know what it does, but it just switches a card. It allows you to do some interesting things. One of the things it does allow you to do is, which is kind of good, but it doesn't mean you like, if you make mistakes, it kind of allows you to cover up those mistakes. And so with cards like that, obviously, if you need, like I 100% make mistakes and sometimes put Thornton in, and then it's like, oh, I messed up, but it's okay. I can Thornton, notably in control decks, right? Thornton's mostly played in control decks. And there is not necessarily used just to cover up mistakes, though normally, it also like feels bad to say like, oh, I'm playing this card, in case I make a mistake. Like sometimes I put like two Force Seal Stones in because I always like hand read my opponent wrong and like play it when they got Lost Vacuum and don't play it when they have INO. Anyway, so Thornton does do that. But the bigger thing is that it allows you to, like in situations where you can't say bench multiple basics, and of like an evolution you need, that it allows you to just bench one or have one in play, then have some other Pokemon, say Pheasantipede EX, or playing Regidrago V-Star, your opponent knocks out your only Regidrago, then you can go ahead, Thornton your Pheasantipede EX into Regidrago V, and then start attacking the Regidrago V-Star. But then you still need to get all the energy on, so it still is awkward. It also uses up your supporter for the turn. It is a very fun card. Well, it's a kind of fun card. Theoretically, it's a really fun card. I've played it a decent amount, and it's like it's less fun than it seems, in my opinion. Um, but it is a cool card. I think that one's a really cool card. This one by Mystic Isle is this one's like something that I'll just talk about real quick. Collecting the specific illustrations is underrated. This list of people, just to name a few, are some of my favorite collections. So specific illustrations from certain artists. I think I don't know. I feel like people like do this and then they don't think it's underrated. I'm not a collector, but there are certain artists I like. I don't really know their names, but certain styles I'm like, wow, that's like a really cool style. I like lots of cards by those artists. I feel like that's not underrated. I don't know. Is this a hot take? It's hard to say something is a hot take like this. Like if everyone thinks it's a hot take, um, like either like if you think it's good and do it. That like if you do it, you think it's good, and if you don't do it, you just probably don't think it's good. I don't know. This is becoming kind of weird about what is a hot take or not, but I think that's fair. But I feel like other people also agree with that. Tinkaton is easily a top. Well, Tinkaton, presumably EX, is easily a top 10 deck in format, but it was bad on release, so people seemingly weren't interested when the Dunsparce actually made it great. I don't. Okay, there's also another comment here about the Dunsparce. I don't think the Dunsparce isn't good. So the Dunsparce, so you have the Dunsparce, right? And then you have, this is going to be weird, really confusing to say. Also, I'm kind of sick, so sorry about that. But you have the Dunsparce, then you have the basic Dunsparce. So those are two cards, and then it draws you, so its ability draws you three cards, shelves itself back into the deck. So, but this Tinkaton EX does damage based on hand size. The one issue, there's a few issues, right? It's a stage two. Stage twos are not bad, but they're not amazing. They're certainly, you'd rather be a basic than a stage two, essentially always, because then it's just easier, right? So being a stage two is kind of awkward. Your HP is kind of low. You also may want to play the Tinkaton single parser to draw cards, which is a good card. I'd say that card's a little underrated, though. Soon Samra does the same thing. But anyways, So you can't get like lots of Pokemon from the same evolution. You'll just run out of basics. Um, but it does 30 for each card in your hand, which is like okay. It's not a terrible card. I definitely don't think it's top 10. I want to hear. So this is from last 78. I want to hear what your top 10 decks are then. Like Tinkaton. I mean, so I don't think it's top 10. I feel like so. This is definitely a hot take. I think it's like maybe top 30. It depends how many decks you classify. Um, like you need to be a really like if you're a stage two deck, or if you're any type of deck, you need to be generally the best at what you do, or pretty close to the best at what you do. And so if you're like a basic, I mean, there are a few good big basic decks, but they all do slightly different things. So you need to do something unique or be the best at what you do. Generally, that is be something unique because every deck in the game does something somewhat unique. That's why Meowscarada, it's a stage two, and it's just not very good. It's not terrible. It's not a terrible card. I kind of group it in with Tinkaton EX where same attack cost. You do need some other stuff to like fulfill what you need to do. Tinkaton, I don't know. I think so. The thing with Dunsparce, and I'll talk about this later, is as well as that actually I'm gonna find that where is that? Someone said Dodon's Price is the better draw engine than Barrel, which I also don't think. Though it does depend, right? Obviously, if you need a big hand size, Barrel is not doing that. Barrel is a draw till 5, if you don't know. But Dodon's Price is it's only a +1 card. Like you don't replay Barrel every time you use it. You just play it once, and then Dodon's Price. It's essentially just getting you one more card because then you actually get the Dunsparces again, and so you're just going to keep drawing into your engine over and over again, which is, your engine's good, but it's not. The point isn't your engine to get your engine. The point's your engine to get your other stuff. Um, I've not played the. Have I played the Dunsparce Tinkaton? I don't know. I've seen it played some. I mean, like normally, tournament results are not perfect, especially with smaller decks. But its results have not been good. I don't think. I'm pretty sure they've been pretty bad. I think it has serious consistency issues and Dunsparce has consistency issues as well. It can like pop off and be absolutely crazy, or it can be just completely terrible. So yeah, Artisan does help with the Dunsparces. So like it means that instead of having to draw having to draw your basics all the time, you don't need to do that. But that's not super reliable. Tinkaton's also slow. You need to build up to getting one shots. So and that's the same thing with Charizard EX. So then it's competing with Charizard EX, and that's not going to end well for Tinkaton, right? Charizard EX is super good. Um, so yeah, but that's an interesting take. This next one, Norvern, presumably Norvern EX is the best attack from Regidrago. I don't think it's the best. I think I do think it is very underrated though. It's not even played in most Regidrago lists. It has two attacks. The first one walls basics, but only does 70 damage, and 70 obviously is not a lot of damage. If you're looking at Pokemon you're walling. Roaring Moon EX. That's a terrible example. Let's just say Rhydon EX, Raging Bolt EX. I'm trying to think. Like Teal Master Gopan EX as well. I don't know. There's a bunch of basics to walling, right? You are walling Roaring Moon EX, but forcing them to use the like big attack. But so it is good for that, but you're only doing 70 damage. That's 3 or 4 shotting them, 3 shotting like the Ogre Ponds, 4 shotting. Let's ignore Roaring Moon, but you're or the single prize Roaring Moon, you're 2 shotting, but that's a single prizer. The Ride on the X, you're 3 shotting, or sorry, 4 shotting all the attackers in that deck. Presumably, you're 4 shotting Reaching Bolt EX. So, you have these, like, you need to attack a lot, and then your opponent just needs a few copies of Gusting cards, and they'll probably get them in the meantime. I also was like, I think Northern EX is super good in Draco, and I was like, it's really good against Reaching Bolt Urban all over the ladder. Still, Rhydon also seemed to be like kind of all over the ladder. Roaring Moon, like the Ancient Box deck, all over the ladder. And so I was like, I'll put Northern EX, but you just give your opponent so much time that they might only have like 2 outs in their whole deck, but they'll get those outs eventually if you're attacking for like 10 turns. Like they'll eventually just get the cards. So Northern, it's probably not the best. It does have versatility. It does have the attack that Special Energy and Stadium locks. Special Energy lock is really niche. And Special Energy locks from hand. So Lugia V-Star, the Special Energy deck in the game, accelerates from the deck. So it just doesn't stop that. It stops certain elements, but not most of them. So, it's not super good there. Stadium locking, I think that's really bad. I can't think of a situation. I mean, it's not like bad. It's better stadium lock than not stadium lock, but that like isn't really useful. Stadiums aren't very good right now. They're not like bad, but it's not like people are really relying on stadiums much. So Nervin is certainly a good attacker, though. I think it's very underrated. I think it's good. I'd certainly put Dragapult over it and Kyurem over it. Um, what else do you play? I'm gonna say it's the third best. Like Gudra's good, but it's people aren't probably one-shotting you anyway, or if they are, they might just one-shot you through Gudra, so that doesn't matter that much. Though it does matter some. Giratina V-Star is like good as well, but it's only 80 more damage than Dragapult EX, but Dragapult EX also has the 6 like spread. It's less damage than Kyurem. It's more single target damage, but I could hear it being the third best attacker. Maybe it's better than Kyurem. I mean Kyurem's like good. It's an interesting attacker. We'll talk about Kyurem later. Here we have from Alex. This is from I believe Aya, who is I'm going to talk about in some other videos, maybe not specifically, but they run the Pokemon TCG live league, the PTGL League Discord server custom card challenges. I've talked about them some. I've showed cards that I've submitted to that. It's a really cool thing to check out. I've sent a few people over there, and they've, I think, really liked it. It's easy to get into. Anyways, that's this person. But it says at the start of the game, before shuffling, you should be able to choose your starting Pokemon. And so, yeah, and this person said it removes mulligan. So I think making like a certain deck too good at the end of the day, a change like this isn't here to I don't know. I feel like you're not talking about certain decks too much. It's more like a general idea because it will like throw things off, but also like shifting the metagame, like whatever. Making little changes will obviously shift the metagame. But this does 4 things. And I saw this comment before, and I was like, I thought about it. So the first thing, which the person in the comments did say, is that it removes mulligans, right? So Iron Thorns X does not like always mulligan though. It's not like mulliganing. It just gives your opponent more cards essentially. It's not like that's why Iron Thorns EX struggles sometimes. No, it struggles because it doesn't do very much damage and doesn't have any options in terms of attackers. That's one attacker. And honestly, its matchup spread is like 100% or 0%. It's not quite that, but it's pretty extreme. So yeah, removing mulligans is kind of weird, but that's a good thing, right? Removing mulligans. Mulligans are annoying in the finals, I believe. So I don't know too much about how this works, but apparently they took like too many mulligans, and the judge had to like intervene and like it is in the rule. It's not like it's necessarily like a definitively bad thing, but slowing the game down. So like you just like do this thing where you like can't mulligan. I don't remember exactly how it works, but long story short, there were too many mulligans, and mulligans are annoying. They just make the game take longer. They are like you don't want people to just play one Pokemon, but it's not that big of a deal, right? It's just not good to play one Pokemon. But then you have other things like so the second thing it does is it allows you to start a certain Pokemon. Obviously, this is what it does, but it allows you to say if you want to start Comfey, Tatsugiri, probably one of those, something like that, that has an ability that works in the active spot. You can always do that, get the value out of that guaranteed every turn one every game. The third thing is it allows you to not like prize a Pokemon, right? So sometimes you're like, I just want to play one copy, not have to worry about it getting prized. So I'll just start every game. It will never get prized because it can't. And then the fourth thing would be that it allows you to specifically not start a Pokemon, right? So you don't want Lumineon V prized, or you don't want to start it, right? Starting Lumineon V like is really bad. Generally, it's just like it's at worst or at best like just annoying and bad, and at worst, like again, it can definitely lose you games. It can be really bad, but it's generally just kind of like not good and annoying. So I think that's cool. I feel like and this is definitely something I haven't really heard before. There is like the idea of like prizing stuff, and a lot of people have different opinions on the prizing, which again I will be talking about that in a video. There's some pretty interesting stuff that Pokemon is actually doing about prizing in the future. Yeah, that's for another video. So I think this is definitely an interesting concept. I think it's strategically it like changes a bunch of things, but that's not necessarily good or bad. I mean, they're not going to implement this at Pokemon. I don't think like this change should happen now because it just makes things like a little. it would just be weird, right, to see a change like this happen. But if like the game originally went this way, um, it would be kind of interesting. Actually, no, I said they won't implement it. There again, we'll talk about that. Um, there with Pocket, right? I'm talking about Pocket. Pocket's gonna have some new rules, some that we know about and some that we don't know about. But yeah, I don't think we'll see in Pocket, but I'd say there's like a 20% chance that we do. Um, and it's an interesting concept. Next we got this person said like Huron is really bad for Lost Zone. And it's the last season Lost Zone's cards will be available. It's bad because of like, Uji Draco plays it. And then the comment said Lost Zone's fun. Yeah, I feel like so yeah, Flood Domain's bad for Lost Zone. Um, I mean, you don't need to play Lost Zone perfectly to win. This comment says, but you need to play it like well. I mean, obviously playing better means you win more, but no one's playing Pokemon perfectly. And Lost Zone players, it's not like Lost Zone players literally just lose every game. But yeah, no. So Cure is bad for Lost Zone. Obviously, it's not like an auto loss. Okay, I haven't played that much Lost Zone, and I haven't played. I don't. I've never seen a game where Kyurem's been played against Lost Zone. I play some. I don't play like a ton. I'm sure it happens, but I played some Lost Zone. Played some Reggie Draco. I've never seen the two decks play against each other because Lost Zone's not played very much. Obviously, if you're playing Lost Zone, though, you're going to see Reggie Draco, and then Kyurem's bad for you. Um, it is counterable. Like you can play Manaphy, and then the canceling Cologne combo is it's hard to pull off. I've never actually I've said this before. I've never seen it pulled off. Generally people put themselves in positions where like you don't want to make it so that if your opponent pulls off the canceling cologne combo, you're just like in a really bad position. So then it's never an option that really opens up, and so then you never obviously go for it if it's never a good option. But I feel it is bad. I feel like Fluttermane and like Klefki are worse. You can kind of do some stuff. I mean, Kirim's really bad for Lost Zone, but yeah, no, that's fair. I agree. I don't know if this is a hot take either. That is like this is like a slap in the face. I feel like that's like kind of fair. If you're like just all in on Lost Zone, um, there are other things that are bad. Like item lock's bad for it. And I mean, Lost Zone, certainly like Lake Game Disruption can be bad for. I thought you do a Fizz and Dip to EX now, so yeah, then that's fair. I feel like that's a pretty. I mean, obviously, Jeremy is a counter to Lost Zone, right? Next we got Pidgeot Control should be put on more top 10 lists from Porio. I haven't been saying names. Oh, this person Mighty Trident. So Pidgeot Control should be more top 10 lists. Yeah, I feel like it's not a top 10. Like it never appears in top 10 lists. Almost like it sometimes does. It sometimes appears in mine. I certainly it's a deck that I consider to be like a relevant meta deck. Um, so yeah, there's another comment about prizes. So what was I gonna say? Pidgeot Control. Yeah, I don't think it's top 10. I don't know. It's close. It's weird, right? It's a deck that like what is Pidgeot Control? Someone like and so I was talking about it and someone's like, well, is this deck counted in it? And they're talking about like Luxray, right? And this Luxray part of Pidgeot Control. Then like Snorlax without Pidgeot is obviously not Pidgeot Control, but then it's Snorlax with Pidgeot like Pidgeot Control, and I don't know, but then people just say like control is this general idea, and then people start like grouping in other things. And obviously, Pidgeot EX and Iron Thorns EX are not the same deck. They literally just cancel each other out. So, well, Iron Thorns EX cancels Pidgeot EX out. So then it becomes weird. So I feel like people just don't include it because it's like kind of messy. I don't think it's top 10 right now. As I said, I think it's outside. Right, you got the big stage 2 decks. You got Charizard and you got Gardevoir, you got Richie Draco, you got Regimental Doggerpon, you have how many is that? I think there was 4. Then you have Ancient Box, you have Iron Thorns EX, you have Roaring Moon EX, you have Miraidon EX. Snorlax is probably better than Pidgeot, but this is where like it gets a little complicated. Oh, and what's the 10th deck? Dragapult. Dragapult is probably top 10 as well. It might not be top 10. It's pretty close. Might be forgetting a deck in there as well. It's close though. I'd say it's like 11 through 15. But if people just like don't mention it at all, they just like don't talk about it. So yeah, I 100% agree with this. And people just don't think about it. Snorlax stall is valid. Sonic control. No. So so yeah, and this person said kind of like it is like valid. So this is kind of interesting with like competitions and like not competitions. Um, so and this like goes into like spirit of the game stuff. It's very weird. And but generally, yeah, I mean Sonic's it's a I mean it's a deck. It's a deck that Pokemon designed. They designed intentionally as well. So this is people say this, don't hate the player, hate the game. I'd say that yeah, that's what you should do with Snorlax. Like Snorlax is very intentionally like a deck and an archetype. Pokemon has very actively designed it to be exactly what it is, and it is exactly what it's designed to be. I think it's badly designed. I think it's probably the worst design card in Standard. Um, yeah, I think it is. I think because I've said it before. I think it's bad. I think it's not fun, but more importantly than it not being fun, Pokemon like knew it wasn't going to be fun when they printed it because it's a reprint. So I don't know why they reprinted the card that they knew people already didn't like. But yeah, and I mean I think like playing it's fair. It's kind of weird because if you're playing it at locals, like a local tournament or just like with your friends, like it's just annoying. And the games are really long. Like they're not. No, they are the long. Outside like Pidgeot Control, they're probably the longest. The turns aren't long, and it's annoying though. It like means you can't do what you want to do. I feel like I wish there was some middle ground between like control and attacking decks. There are some decks people call them aggro control. I call them pseudo control generally when I'm referring to them. But aggro control, like Iron Thorn ZX, but also Iron Thorn ZX is like um, it's pretty controlly, right? It's pretty controlly. Its attacks pretty bad. But if you're looking at decks, I mean, there's stuff like Iono, which is like disruptive. There's like Boss can be disruptive, Prime Catcher can be disruptive, but also like most decks just don't have any semblance of control really, which is like fine. But I feel like, and I'm not saying like people should. I'm not saying I wish like everyone's playing Four Crushing Hammers in their deck, but I feel like if people like put Mawile in the deck more, Strongest would feel like, oh, okay, well I'm just it's like a little more than Mawile. Um, then it would feel better. But right now it feels like this jarring thing that's really annoying. So it says, okay, this one, next person from wait, this next here, this person said this is Crypto Scam Investor. Okay, so Plus Prilla said prizes can remove prizes or rework them so I don't easily get walled by my opponent by giving my opponent more cards by losing. This is interesting, and so this person's kind of saying that it should be like a comeback mechanic, right? Which is interesting, and I think that's kind of fair, especially with Pokemon being like a yeah, like aimed at a younger audience, right? It's not like a kids game necessarily. Though you could say it's a kids game. My audience is not like children. It is certainly it's for everyone, which is mostly not. Most people aren't, children. But Pokemon definitely like if you look at the World Championship, right? There's three age divisions. Two of them are no, the ones are like you could kind of group it into like children, teens, and adults, but it's certainly younger than like Magic, right? I think I'm pretty sure it's younger than Magic. I don't play Magic, but so part of it is like, and then so I'm playing Mario Kart. Some I don't play. I feel like a lot of people know it though. So and that has comeback mechanics because it's like aimed at a younger audience and like a more casual audience. I should say more casual. It is. I don't know how young Mario Kart's audience is. I feel like Pokemon is probably younger. It's a franchise as a whole, like, especially with like the anime and stuff. But Pokemon it can definitely feel out of control, especially with like in casual play. If one person has like some two prizers that are just like way better than the other person's stuff, it just kind of like rolls out of control. I feel like prize cards though, someone obviously in the name like it has to work this way. It can't be like a comeback mechanic. So, but they could like change the name. And as I said, Pokemon may or may not be removing prize cards in Pocket, which is interesting. I'm going to talk about that. Um, and so I think that's interesting. I think that's fair. I think prize cards they're a weird mechanic, especially with prize checking, prize mapping. As well, it's kind of weird. This comment. The take is not about prize mapping. It's not about prize checking either. I feel like prize checking though is something that a lot of people just find annoying. I find it annoying too. I'll be completely honest. It's like something that helps you, but it's like really annoying and takes a really long time and is like kind of difficult because you need to like know your deck and then know what's in you. It's annoying, and the reward is not much. It's like kind of underwhelming. But sometimes you can get it can be really important, but usually it's not that important. But sometimes it's super crucial. So I think that's also partially why like prizes are kind of annoying mechanic, in my opinion. Though that's not what this person's saying. They're saying that they don't like they think it's like it's a reverse comeback mechanic, which I think is fair. That like not liking that it's a mechanic that kind of grows as you go over time, grows over time. You could say the same thing about like Thwacky or something though. Like you could say this about a lot of things, just cards that are engine cards. You could say like, oh, getting a card in play helps you get more cards in play, and so that's like a reverse comeback mechanic. So not all the mechanics can be comeback mechanics, right? Um, I think prizes are fine. Like it's not that big of a deal taking a prize usually. It does help you and it can win you the game, but it probably doesn't. I think it's okay. It kind of allows for these aggressive Hail Mary plays. And then there are comeback mechanics that are specifically focused around the aspect that if your opponent has if they've taken lots of prizes, then you can hit them with Iona, Counter Catcher, Unfair Stamp. Unfair Stamp's not exactly a prize thing, but Counter Catcher, Iono, um, Roxanne, prize things. Not like Roxanne's not exactly a comeback mechanic, but certainly has that idea and feel behind it. Iono, Counter Catcher, very clearly comeback mechanics. So I feel like at that point, like you play these cards, right? Play Iono, play Counter Catcher. And so then you can like have this comeback mechanic, and then it's not like you're helping your opponent. Now you're hurting your opponent, or they're hurting themselves by taking prizes. So yeah, I feel like Pokemon in some ways has like pulled back on that as well with these comeback mechanic cards, which they said they were going to do with Scarlet and Violet era, and they have been doing that. So you also got stuff like Defiance Band, Defiance Vest. Um, I don't know. There's like a lot. There's a lot more than you'd expect. I don't know how many there are, but there's just like a ton. This last comment here from Alex says the most overrated card is Pheasant of the EX. It is an easy boss and take two prizes to win. I disagree with this one. I mean, it can be an issue. It does depend exactly what you're playing. So if you're playing, let's say United Wings. Someone said like Fizznifty's like no, I think someone said like Squawkabilly EX is really bad in United Wings. But Squawkabilly EX is very good for getting extra damage. In United Wings. It's a good card in general. And I feel like a lot of the time, a good chunk of the decks that play Fizznifty EX play either Squawkabilly EX or Rotom V. Both of those are two prices with less HP than Pheasantipsy EX. Now, the big difference, I guess, is that you could collapse Stadium away the Squawkabilly EX and the Rotom V. You can't really do that with Pheasantipsy EX. I mean, you can, but then you don't get the value out of it. So, or you probably don't get the value out of it. It certainly needs to be sitting there later on in the game versus Rotom V. Squawkabilly EX are turn one cards. You could turn a scenario as well. Same idea there. But I feel like a lot of the time they're just in play. Like they're just kind of chilling there. You can just boss those up, and then you have less HP. Pheasantipity X HP is also it's only 210, right? But it is 210 though. That's pretty good. It's like pretty average. It allows you to go and like knock it out with some things that are a little easier, but like I feel like if you're like the big thing is if you're playing a single prize deck, then yes, it is a liability. But if you're like Charizard DX, it's 70 HP less than Pidgeot EX, and then 120 less than Charizard EX, which is a big difference. But um, I feel like especially very late in the game, people can knock out Pidgeot EX. Certainly sometimes, not every deck, but it definitely will happen. And so I feel like it's not that big of a liability. It's good. Um, I'd say maybe it's a little overrated. I think looking at the statistics, I think it might be the most played card in standard. I'm sorry, Pokemon in standard. If you don't weight cards, it's obviously like a one of. I don't remember if that's true, and it might have just been like some weird variance thing, or it might not be the most played, but it's like really highly played. And maybe it is overrated. I definitely think there are more cards that are more overrated than that, but I mean, overthinking like something's overrated. I feel like not everyone. If everyone like agrees with it, then it's not overrated anymore. But yeah, no, that's definitely that's like an interesting take. Definitely, I feel like Squawkabilly EX is and Rotom V are like the cards that are sketchy, and Lumineon V as well. Like Pheasantipsy EX's 210 HP definitely has to me has felt like nice. It's been nice to have this higher HP on a support Pokemon. Pheasantipsy EX's ability is the same essentially. It's not the same in name, which is actually meaningful and expanded, but it's the same in effect as Oricorio GX's, which had 170 HP. And some people may be thinking, no, that was like a long time ago, not like drastically long. It's not like it's as old as like Shaman EX, which had like 110, but it's still a good amount of time ago. It's like 6 years, five. I don't know. It's a decent amount of time ago. But then today, GX has the same amount of HP as Squawkabilly EX. Tapu Lele GX has the same amount of HP as Lumineon V. So and those are obviously in standard, and so then those are like the same HP, but then Physical EX has I believe 40 more HP than Oricorio GX, and it was very meaningful back then, and I think it's meaningful now. It's not like insane. It's not like people aren't able to hit 210, but it is. There are times when your opponent can't hit it. You can only hit like 180 or whatever. So I don't know. I feel like its HP is like okay. Um, no TMS Ogerpon EX with Raging Bolt EX. They can just gust up the Ogerpons. Well, that definitely is an interesting take. But anyways, I definitely enjoyed reading your hot takes. And I don't know, I was expecting some like spicier takes, though there certainly were some that were kind of hot takes and some really interesting thought experience and ideas. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Consider liking, subscribing, commenting down below as well your thoughts on these takes, your takes. But I hope you enjoyed, and as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.